This is just insane. It's a TYR Pro Swim Series at the start of May, and we just saw not one, not two, but three new world records at the very last day of competition. These came from none other than Gretchen Walsh and Ledecky. So let's break these world records down and talk about how on day one I said something that has aged like milk. Gretchen Walsh got things off to a roaring start in the morning's prelim session. In the women's 100 fly, she blasted a time of 55:09 for a new world record. That lowered her own world record of 55:18 set at the US Olympic trials last summer. Walsh set that record during the semifinal of those trials and was a little bit slower in the final, though it was faster than the old world record. Would it be the same story again here? Not even close. Gretchen Walsh was somehow out even faster at the first 50, 2/10 under her world record split with her blistering front end speed. After a huge underwater off of the turn, Walsh extended her massive lead. Could she maintain her speed, or would that quick opening catch up with her? 54:60, another new world record by an insane margin, as Gretchen Walsh smashes her hours-old record to become the first woman ever under 55 seconds. Comparing the splits between her prelim swim and her final swim, we can see that Walsh managed to improve both her first and second 50 splits. It's also the same story when comparing her to her previous world record. The biggest difference is on that second 50, as it looks like Walsh has massively increased that closing speed. Gretchen Walsh absolutely owns the 100 fly right now. With these swims, she now has the 5 fastest swims in history. But what's even crazier is that margin over the second fastest performer ever, Sarah Sostrom. With her new record of 54:60, Walsh is now getting close to being a full second faster. That is especially crazy when you realize for just how long that old record of 55:48 actually stood for. From 2016, it was almost 8 years of no one being able to touch it until Gretchen Walsh started to completely dismantle it. Looking at the splits between Walsh and Sostrom, we can get an even greater appreciation for just how crazy fast Walsh's opening speed is, 25:32 to 26:01. And somehow Gretchen is also faster on the second 50 as well, 29:28 to 29:47. Those are just the splits required to completely obliterate a record like this. 54:60 is just an absurdly fast swim. It's one thing to break a time barrier, that's already special, but to completely shatter it like this, that's just insane. It's also worth noting that while Walsh and a lot of other UVA swimmers are able to swim fast times pretty much year round, they do tend to be pretty good at also dropping time at the end of the year. That, coupled with the fact that Walsh looked pretty surprised after her swims, has me pretty scared. But there's another swimmer that has scared me for years, and that's Ledecky. In 2016, Ledecky broke her own world record in the 800 freestyle to win gold at the Rio Olympics, and her time of 8:04.79 has been untouchable since then. Well, untouchable until now. Because somehow, Ledecky just did the unthinkable. 9 years after setting that legendary world record at the age of 28, she just smashed it. Ledecky was out under world record pace through the first 200, already a very good sign, but then the world record split started to catch her. However, she never let that pace get too far away from her, as she slowly began to claw her way back. At the 700 meter mark, she was 700ths under world record pace, but 2016 Ledecky closed that race very quickly. With the Fort Lauderdale crowd cheering her on, Ledecky didn't just hold off her 2016 self, she took off and extended her lead, eventually touching in a blistering 8:04.12. 9 years later, and Ledecky just reset her own world record in the women's 800 freestyle. And this isn't just any swim from Ledecky. This 800 free time was arguably her most impressive swim until now. And Ledecky is having one of the best meets in her entire career at this Pro Swim Series stop. We already saw that on day one, she posted the second fastest performance ever in the women's 1500, and I thought that was the best performance we'd see out of her all week. That wasn't me expecting her to be bad the rest of the meet, just that the second fastest ever is really hard to top. There's only one spot that's faster than that, and she found it. When I was talking about that 1500, I said something that aged absolutely terribly. She's already dropped the 200 free and is maybe focusing more on the 800 and 1500 rather than the 400s. And while Ledecky is probably beyond going personal bests in the 400 or 800, yeah, so first I said that Ledecky was maybe shifting focus away from the 400 free in order to prioritize longer events, to which she responded with the 7th fastest 400 free ever and her fastest 400 freestyle since the Rio Olympics. And then I said it was unlikely that she would ever go a best time in the 800 free again, which I thought was a pretty safe thing to say. It wasn't. So even though throughout that video I was explicitly praising Ledecky, I still somehow managed to fall face first into a classic blunder. I still underestimated her. Looking at the splits between Ledecky's two 800 swims, we can see how she managed to improve her world record. While she was slower than her 2016 swim through the middle of the race, she made up for it by being faster on the bookends. That 58.75 on the final 100 particularly stands out, as that's what really pushed her past that old world record to not just clip it, but to smash it. With this new record, Ledecky now reclaims her perfect 10 for 10 in the all-time top performances. Earlier this year, Summer McIntosh went an 809, which before this was number 10 and broke the perfect streak. Speaking of McIntosh, she was in that 400 free final with Ledecky, where these two had an absolutely electric race. McIntosh took things out quickly as Ledecky lurked before eventually making her move at the end to win the race. It's also worth noting that Gretchen Walsh also had a pretty good meet all around. Obviously, her 100 fly was the high point because duh, but she did also go a new personal best in the 100 free to break 53 seconds for the first time ever, and became just the second woman to ever break 25 seconds in the 50 fly, setting a new American record in the process. Katie Ledecky and Gretchen Walsh both absolutely dominated at the final stop of the 2025 Pro Swim Series, with each of them lowering their own world records and Gretchen doing it twice. Ledecky won a world record that I firmly believe was out of even her grasp at this point, and Walsh continued her streak of dominance atop the 100 fly rankings. Which swims were your favorite from this stop of the Pro Swim Series? And what about a swim that wasn't from one of these two? Let me know down below.